Welcome, Dr. James Beckett, Sports Card Insights. Thanks, sponsors, ComC.com, Beckett Media, Beckett Grading, Beckett Authentication, Burbank Sports Cards, Mike Stadium Sports Cards, Heritage Auctions, Huggins & Scott Auctions, Topps, Upper Deck, and Panini. Those are the sponsors. I wonder who would be the sponsor of a Mount Rushmore, who would pay for finding the side of the mountain and some sculptor, chiseler to make the likenesses come alive, and who would go to see it. Like I said, a couple days ago, if you put Mickey Mantle on there, then Mantle fans are going to come see the Mount Rushmore of the collecting personalities, figures. People would not recognize Jefferson Burdick walking down the street. I would recognize Cy Berger because he'd greet you walking down the street. Mickey Mantle would be universally recognized, if not by people my age that knew him or saw him in his prime, but everybody knows the likeness. They know the 52 Topps card and many others. He is an iconic figure. Okay, so I mentioned that you have to be dead to be on there. Who are the people that are alive now that if they keep going, they might have a chance as we reevaluate again? The other Mount Rushmore was done a long time ago, and there have been worthy people since then. And this is like Hall of Fames. You can start a new Hall of Fame and start over. But Mount Rushmore seems a little more permanent. If I'm going to wait, and I'm going to give some of these people a chance, then I think about 15 on this list of guys. And if I forgot somebody, it's hard to come up with this stuff. I'm not saying they're all equally worthy. There certainly could be others that I'm neglecting to mention that are equally as worthy or more worthy than certainly some of these people. And some of them, as I said, are controversial. Okay, again, doing it alphabetically. Number 1 is Mike Aronstein, very worthy. Had great collection, done card sets, many card sets, had his own card company. Was the first winner of the Jefferson Burdick Saber card collecting honor. Very worthy there. Strong candidate. Again, would not be as recognizable on the mountain, but I'd recognize him, and I would say well done. Mike Kramer, not reclusive, but he follows the beat of his own drummer. He's not been as active lately, but when you look at his collecting resume, I don't know anybody that's done the breadth from having so many millions of cards, but also having a great curated collection and having an innovative card company and walking away with dignity and now battling cancer and coming back. So he's just a real inspirational guy. I highly recommend getting his book. In fact, if everybody gets his book, then he will be definitely voted onto the Mount Rushmore because he's got an amazing story. Number 3, Marshall Fogle. Again, if it was a memorabilia Mount Rushmore, I think he would emerge. For cards, he may have the best card in the world if he's got the best PSA 10 52 Topps mantle. And he's well-spoken, very generous about displaying his stuff, so very worthy. Number 4 is Ken Golden. A little controversial there. Ken's got a lot more life in him. I knew his dad. Really, his dad would be very proud. His dad was about my age and was also a statistics professor. And I think his dad, Paul, would be really proud of Ken because Ken is really high energy and just constant motion. He reinvents himself when he needs to, but he's on a roll and he's a really hard worker. And if there's going to be a Mount Rushmore in 2040, if he is going at the same rate that he's been going, he's got a good chance. So I'm encouraging to keep it up. Along the same veins, number 5 is Brian Gray. Brian has had a nice run. And we're not done with Brian Gray. He'll be back in the fray in some way because he's a lifer. And so again, he's not going to make the Mount Rushmore today. He's not going to make it next year. But if I look at 15, 20 years from now, 25 years, I think he's got a good chance. He's innovated. He's done at heart. I think he's a collector, but he's also at heart a dealer, also an investor, also a card company, and a futurist a little bit. I'm looking forward to more great things from Brian. Number 6 was the Jasperson family. I don't think they're going to get in, but I knew Mike's dad, who was a leading journalist, a newspaper guy that had one of the hobby publications back when there weren't any. But then he's passed away. Mike is in his prime, and Nick is, so it's a family thing with Jaspys. I don't think he's going to make it, but again, you project ahead and you see this family legacy. And if Mike and Nick keep going for another 20 years, they were early in on breaking, and I like the way they do things. Number 7, very controversial, but I'll explain myself. Bill Mastro. He actually started with Don Steinbach. Before that, he was a very extremely knowledgeable collector / dealer, as all those guys in the early 70s were. He really knew his stuff. People are not all bad or all good. He did a lot of good. He put auctions on the map with Don. They really knew their stuff. And Bill is a little bit of a promoter. They got the high-end auction market really going. It didn't really exist till he got that going. And then he was convicted or plea bargained, whatever. But again, he took it to a level where shill bidding was, I won't say inevitable, but the money got bigger. Probably a nice way to say that. Number 8, Chris McGill, again, probably splitting votes with Josh Johnson and Christina Thorson, his partners in Card Ladder and the other things, House of Jordans, the fun stuff that they do. Again, right now, not going to make it, but these are young people that have already done some great things. So you project 20 years ahead, I like their chances. Okay, number 9, Dick Perez. When it came up in the show with Danny and John Newman, when they were doing their Mount Rushmore show, I actually didn't have Dick Perez up as high as they did, not anything close, because I was primarily friends with Frank Steele of the Perez Steel, who also was a great collector and baseball fan. Dick Perez had the skill, but Frank Steele opened all the doors for Dick's work to be done right, done excellently, and distributed in a big way. Very worthy. When people think of artists in the hobby, it's Dick Perez and Diamond Kings top of mind. Number 10, Jeff Rosenberg. Again, if there was a autograph signing, Mount Rushmore. But Jeff has done lots of things. And again, at his heart, he's a collector, and he's somebody that really cares about the industry. He's been in it since I remember him as a teenager, as an early 20-something. He had focus, and he looked at doing things, even though he was collecting, he built a business in doing well, something that was tricky, and he does it very well. And he's got some great teammates. Let's see, number 11, Michael Rubin. Now, this is the only one that I'm saying I am hoping that Michael Rubin is on the Mount Rushmore in the year 2050, because that would mean in the next 20 or 25 years, he did 10X it, and he did it in a way that everybody's excited about. Same thing with some of the others I've mentioned. If Michael Rubin is successful in the 10X, it won't be all because of him, even though he could be the nominal leader. He's chosen some strong teammates, leaders who are coming in and making some of the day-to-day decisions. But he's the guy that has the overall vision to take this, and hopefully he's got people that will help him implement that. And like I said, do it in a responsible way, so we're not dealing with the junk wax here. Next, same thing, in spite of the fact that PSA was our primary competitor back in the day when I was starting BGS, always respected them. Now with Nat Turner at the helm, who is a true collector, I think. I'm hoping, again, I want BGS to be the best it can be, and I want to grow the industry so that all benefit. But Nat Turner, if he continues to lead PSA and the conglomerate that it is, he'll be very deserving of Mount Rushmore treatment. And he's a young guy, so he's got time to do that. 13th, not unlucky, the Veras family. This is just a little bit of a shout out, even though I have a lot of respect for Stephen and how Stephen really enabled natural drive and personality. So his dad deserves some of the credit, but Rob has been the face of it for a long time. The interesting thing is, if there's a Mount Rushmore in 2050, maybe Ryan is on it instead of Rob. I don't know. I don't know that you can have a family on there. That's a different concept, just like with Jaspersons. That's just the way it is. But Rob Veras, the preeminent store, the store that others think, wow, how do you get there? The barrier to entry or the barrier to competition for him, the bar is so high with his organization and inventory that it's just amazing. And I'm telling you, it's not luck. It's hard work and vision. Number 14, another controversial one, Jeff Wilson has done a lot of things in a short period of time. I know he has hobby roots from working in a card shop and collecting as a kid, but he has come on strong in the last 5 or 6 years. And I admire entrepreneurs who step up and bet on themselves and bet on their concepts. So he has done that with his Cards HQ. We'll see if he also has figured out a way to create another related business with a large, modern, perhaps futuristic card shop. In fact, I would not even call it a shop, but it's a store that is fully featured of the things this generation of collector wants. So I hope he does well. Like I said, if he does well, then could he be on Mount Rushmore? He definitely could be, especially if he keeps going at the rate he's been going, then we will see. Then last is Kit Young, my friend Kit Young, who's legitimately on this list. He's a little bit older than me, and I hope he stays in good health for a long time. But I don't want to limit, because I think he's had an amazing, high integrity, vintage mail order business that's remained old school and has super loyal employees and super loyal customers. So that's very exemplary. But where he really contributed to this industry in a way that nobody else did it, and that's with the Kit Young Hawaii Industry Summit that he hosted for so many years. And our company and I was friends with him, and we helped out. But he was the headliner, larger than life, kind person, a sharp person. And by strength of persuasion, he was the first one really to get the leagues, especially the leagues and the Players Association, saying, you've got to be, what's not to like about a week in Hawaii? Those people were on an expense account, many of them. And so I don't know how much arm twisting he had to do, but they needed to be there to really see, because there were a lot of dealers there. It was mainly a dealer thing, a few collectors, but mainly dealers. There was a card show. But he was the visionary from all that. And he had to talk Major League Baseball and the Major League Players Association to say, you need to be here. You need to be face to face with some of your customers. You need to have some sense of what this industry is all about. And he actually also did a good job of kind of protecting them from coming in and getting ambushed. So he kept it very professional and very high end. He put on events that our industry could be proud of, just like Mike Burkus with the National. He made it into an event that was just an amazing event that people walked away happy and pleased that our industry had such things and such people involved. So can't go too wrong. Again, I'm glad I don't have to vote, and I'm glad I'm not in the Baseball Writers Association of America where you have to publish your vote. I'm just saying here's 15 semifinalists, and all have things to suggest that they're worthy of consideration. I realize it's in our culture. If you make a big mistake, you're probably going to be disqualified. I'm not going to rub that in because, like I said, people make mistakes. But on the totality of somebody's contribution, that ought to be the consideration. And if they made some great contributions, then maybe they make it, maybe they don't. So, at any rate, I don't want to be the judge and the jury. I just want to be a commentator. So thanks, everybody, and I'll be back again in a couple of days with another episode.
The man in the house of cards. The man in the house of cards. The man in the house of cards is doing color rates.
Hey, have you ever watched to the end of the credits of a movie? At the very end or somewhere in there, they have an additional trailer or something teasing the next thing. I'm not doing that here. I'm actually calling attention to the fact that I made a mistake. I may wake up in the middle of the night and figure out I made another mistake, but I left off Tim Getch, ComC founder, Rich's employer, a friend and a sponsor and a collector and the programmer and all that stuff. Very worthy, using his technical skills and drive for the benefit of setting up a system that I've really enjoyed. He was the prime mover behind that, worthy of Mount Rushmore treatment. Sorry, Tim. And if I forget anybody else and remember it, I'll try to make it right. There's some other really good people, but would be a big faux pas if I leave off Tim.